Well, thank you so much for that introduction. As Brooke said, I'm with Rodale Institute. I've been with the Institute for about 7 months now. Sat down and spoke with some of the graduate students, and I was able to talk to them about a little bit of my background. So this is me. I get to take these cool headshots. I always enjoy being able to be in the field and get the photographer out there. So when I was at Mississippi State, they did do a write-up. And so I've made it a point every time to say, okay, let's get some action photos so that it's not just your traditional, dressed up in a suit, because I don't have to wear a suit anymore. So just a little bit of background with my education. I have a bachelor's of science from Fort Valley State University in plant science and biotechnology. I attended I attended Auburn University, where I got my master's in plant breeding. And then my last stop was Mississippi State University with a PhD in weed science and genetics. So how did I get here? Right now, I'm the organic consultant with Rodale Institute. Prior to this, I was with Corteva as their weed scientist and herbicide biologist. So I'll tell you a little bit about how that came about. And then I also interned with Land O'Lakes / Winfield United as a chemistry intern. So just a little bit of information about me. I know it's different if you know anything about Rodale. It's a soil health institute. And here I am coming in with a background in weed science, where everyone assumed that I sprayed nothing but herbicides, and I call those spray and pray programs. So thankfully, I was able to get a little bit more experience. I'm a 3-time NASA fellow, so that was also another reason why I was able to stay at Mississippi State for a little bit longer. And I spent time working in rice, but I took a genetics approach. So everyone in my department, it seemed like, was going out spraying some type of herbicide. They would look at evaluating nozzles, and I told them, I had one student, I looked at their master's thesis, and it was about 50 pages long. And we know those are double spaced, and it was the easiest project. He was looking at, interactions, and his final statement was there were no interactions. And that was his thesis, And I was like, man, what did I do to myself? So after school, I did go and work at Corteva, and it was a great opportunity. And previously, before going to Corteva, I had interned at Dow during my master's, and I loved it. As an intern, I felt like I owned my research, but it was very collaborative. And then when I got to the Corteva side, things changed a little bit. We got a new structure in, we got a new CEO. The company became more global focused, and that's not what I wanted to do. I really still had this dream of feeding the world. And then in comes Rodale Institute. And so as a consultant with Rodale, the most important thing that I tell people is we are a nonprofit. That is always, always, always first on the list. That means that I don't get paid an hourly rate for anything that I do. My goal is to help farmers overcome any barriers that they have as it pertains to organic farming and soil health. So it says that for more than 70 years, we've been researching innovative techniques to manage pests and disease in organic agriculture while providing nutritious food and adapting to and mitigating climate change. So another big part of that is we just received a $25 million grant from USDA for a climate smart project. And I was so excited about that because you see organic. This is the first time where we have a large scale project that is going to compare conventional versus organic. We're looking at cover crop usage versus no cover crop usage, and we get to incentivize farmers. So if any of you have worked with farmers, you know that they are so ingrained in it. It's hard for them to get out of that space and contribute to research. And so being able to secure this grant, we now have a way to get them to participate doing exactly what they've been doing. We give them an app. I'm providing technical assistance to about 50 farmers, helping them identify cover crops. We're looking at different temperate regions. There's so much data. And the reason I'm excited about this is because I think our next steps, like the person who wins the next World Food Prize, Nobel Peace Prize, they are going to come up with a model from all of this data that everyone is doing with greenhouse gas emissions, carbon sequestration. They're going to figure out how to give these carbon credits and how it can actually translate across the board. That's what we're lacking. So to be able to be a part of this study for 5 years where we're looking exactly at greenhouse gas emissions, how do we decrease these? We also want to improve soil health. There are so many deliverables, and we can do that in the 5 years. So that's what is exciting about working for Rodale as a nonprofit. So one of our big themes, overarching themes, is that Rodale Institute is healing people and the planet through regenerative organic agriculture. And I know people have probably heard regenerative, and they're like, what is that? Nobody knows. Nobody has it clear. Everyone defines it differently. And for us, it's a big focus on soil health. How do you put back in after taking out? And how can we continue to build and do more with the same soil that we're going to have for the next 50, 100? Next, we also want to unlock the power of regenerative agriculture, empowering farmers, engaging communities, and transforming lives. That is where our consulting department was born out of. We wanted to be able to be on the ground floor, speaking with these farmers, understanding the issues that they have, and giving them a stake in solving these issues. It's not just, hey, I think this is a great research idea. If it doesn't benefit the farmers, we don't want to do it. We engage them in our grant writing process. We are always looking for letters of support whenever we do come up with a research project. So we are really empowering these farmers to take control of that research, and we let them do the research on farm. If they say they want to participate, we are a no farmer left behind. If you have the land, we want to use it because we know that soil types are different everywhere. So in this photo, who we have is J.I. Rodale. And for those of you who are familiar with Rodale Institute, you may know that that's not his real name. Mr. Rodale was actually Jewish and felt like no one would take him seriously with his name. So this is how we came about with J.I. Rodale. So in 1947, he changes his name, comes out with this Rodale Institute, and they consider him a pioneer in the organic movement. While we may not have started it, to have a whole institute dedicated to soil health, where the process and the ideas here are healthy soil equals healthy food equals healthy people. That is what we focus on. We're not, when you look at the literature on our page, a lot of people are like, you're an organic company. No, we are supporting organic processes, but our focus is soil health. And then we branch out from there on what we can do. So this picture here, and I wonder if it will play, this is an aerial of our headquarters in Pennsylvania. So this is not even a small portion of the farm. This is where we do all of our research. As you can see, we've got greenhouses, we've got head houses. We store a lot of equipment that we are able to loan out to farmers, and we're constantly expanding that. So like I said, I'm in the Southeast. We are developing this regional resource where farmers can then come and rent equipment from us, and it's accessible because we have these satellite campuses everywhere. So let's see.
J.I. Rodale, who started the Rodale Institute, said healthy soil equals healthy food equals healthy people back in 1947, and that still holds true today.
We believe here that our research is a catalyst for change. We do a lot of education, transitioning farmers who want to move from conventional to organic, or getting new farmers interested.
We have three major focus areas: grow organic research and organic farming, adapt to and mitigate climate change. And then our last focus area is to solve food insecurity by looking at producing high nutrient dense food.
This research is very useful, not just for organic farmers, but conventional growers as well. I know that what we are trying to promote here can actually feed the world.
We can show people that you can feed the world without the use of pesticides and herbicides.
We don't have to feed people for 20 years or 50 years. We may need to feed people for 10,000 years, and we need to improve the health of the soil in order to do that. And organic agriculture really is the future of agriculture. It's the future of farming. It's a very exciting time.
Yes, so you got to see our CEO. He's actually leaving us in April. So we are looking forward to bringing in a new CEO. We hope for progressive thinking, forward thinking, and just growth overall. But Jeff Moyer, his story is amazing because he made it to CEO, but he started out as a technician with Rodale Institute and then just kept working his way up. Like he told us, he said he was fired twice and never quit. He just kept showing back up, you know? And so it's interesting to hear when you have someone who is now the CEO and, you know, he's on his way out, but he's still going to be involved with Rodale. That's how much he loves this institute and what he's been a part of in growing Rodale. So we do have some research focus areas. Let's see. Close that out. Uh-oh. Top right. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you so much. All right. So our research focus areas are maximizing soil health. We know this. Growing regenerative agriculture as we define it. And that, like I said, is giving back to the soil. Mitigating and adapting to climate change. So again, being a part of that climate smart project, we are hitting these research areas and improving human health and nutrition. And I'll touch on how we are doing this with our research in a later slide. So our research is a catalyst for change. We have 3 different pillars that we focus on in our impact areas. So we offer farmer support. That's where my job is focused. We look at organic pest and fertility management, transitioning farmers and land to regenerative organic. I like to amend this and say, sometimes we need sustainability. Sometimes we do need regenerative practices before we can even think about being organic, but we have to get people thinking that way. And then we also want to have efficient regenerative innovation and technology. So again, empowering our farmers, bringing the research that they're doing or any ideas that they have. We want to find money for them to do that research. And we want to be able to take it to one of our resource centers and repeat it and show that it does work. We support the farmers who support us as well. With adapting into and mitigating climate change, we want to have build adaptation to ecological, economic, and social disturbance. So I think that we are really, really focused on this breakdown and understanding what is happening within our climate. We now can accept that climate change is happening, and we have to support these farmers and show that we can adapt, and we are giving them those tools and resources. And then we want to define and measure regenerative agriculture systems. So that's things like our carbon sequestration, looking at carbon credits. We get a lot of farmers that come and ask us about carbon credits. And so we're always forward thinking on how we can improve this. And then human health and nutrition, we provide science-based data and help to the health benefits of an organic diet. We increase crop nutrition and nutritional density, and we link soil health to human health. So now I'll introduce you to one of our largest research projects. This is our farming systems trial, and many don't know that this is one of the longest running research projects in North America. With our farming systems trial, we look at conventional farming versus organic, cover crop usage versus no cover crop, and we also look at the inputs of manure in 3 different forms. So this was started in 1981. It's a 12-acre farm that we have 72 plot trials that we can focus on grain research in. The data does show that organic yields match conventional yields and sometimes outperform conventional in years of flooding and drought. So that was always interesting to people, and they're like, how does this happen? Why? Because we're not tilling, we've got this no-till system in conventional. We have been taught that this is how we reserve our resources. So how is this happening in organic when we're putting in less inputs? And we also find that our organic plots have higher soil organic matter, use less energy, and are more profitable. Again, the more profitable aspect comes to times of flooding and drought. As far as the different systems, we look at organic manure. So we're sourcing this from organic cattle, dairy, and beef, bringing in large trucks of manure to apply to these fields. We also have organic legumes. So that just means that we are planting a cover crop and creating a cash flow from this land over time, every growing season. And then we have our conventional synthetic farming. So this is just your traditional farming plan. We have herbicides being applied, synthetic fertilizers, and this was all done by recommendations from Penn State University Cooperative Extension. So what did we find? This went on for decades, and this is what we're still finding. We're competitive after a 5-year transition period. So we have to convince farmers, we want you to transition. You're going to make more money, but they have to understand the value and know that it may take 3 to 5 years to get there. In times of drought, we're able to have yields that are 40% higher than our conventional farms. And again, this is looking at, in conventional, we have corn and soybean is our rotation. So when we talk about these grains, that's what we're focused on. Our farmers are able to earn 3 to 6 times greater profits. So when we actually do compare our organic farmers acre for acre to our conventional farmers, because they are able to charge that premium for being certified organic, we see that they're more profitable. It does take a little bit more work, but they're making money based on that premium for their commodity. We found that we didn't leach any toxic chemicals into the waterways with our organic systems. We use 45% less energy. So we're not going out there and, spraying constantly, using fuel, rolling over a lot of this. I promise you, the field looks horrible. When I went the first time, I was like, oh my God, I was thinking as a weed scientist, and I'm like, this field, what are you guys doing? But then when you see past the weeds, you're like, the canopy's good. The plants are taller than their weeds. There's that competition, that natural competition is happening, and this crop is performing well. And we release 40% fewer carbon emissions. So that was just that's always interesting. And again, I will point out that these results are for the Northeast, these trials. So what we are working on now is bringing this research to all of our organic resource centers. We have to be able to support it in every region and say, well, this works in Pennsylvania, but here in the Southeast, this is what the results look like. Here on the West Coast, this is what the results look like. But to be able to have this promising research and have the support of Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture and Penn State University to be able to run this and get these outputs is amazing. So now we move on to our vegetable systems trial. So kind of similar to our farm systems trial, except we're looking at vegetables. And we want to answer those questions that a lot of people ask. Is organic better for you? Does it have more nutritional value? Does it taste differently? That's what this is for. So this trial started in 2016. We don't report, well, we do report. We have webinars, usually quarterly, yearly, that will update on the progress of our vegetable systems trial. But there's so much data that they're collecting that I tend to stray away from it and introducing it. But we looked at our crops in rotation, our root crops, fruit, leaf crops, as well as brassicas and cucurbits. So we're growing everything from pumpkins, cucumbers, carrots, garlic. They have everything out there that they are looking at. Some of the measurements are nutrient density, or the amount of proteins, vitamins, minerals, and more in organic versus conventional produce. So we really want to answer those questions and have data to support that, instead of being a commercial and saying organic's better for you because we're not using pesticides. Does that really make a difference? People really want to see that data supported there. Additional projects, we have the watershed impact trial. So this is what the farm in Pennsylvania looks like. You can see that there are a lot of different parcels that this is separated into. And it's designed to explore and educate the public on connections between farming practices and clean water. So again, we're still looking at conventional versus organic. We want to look at the quantity and composition of runoff, residues of pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides, stream water quality, microbes in the water, physical, chemical, and biological properties of soil, crop yields, emissions, and energy use. So this is all coming out of just understanding water. It's great to say that we didn't leach any chemicals, but what else did we leach? Is there any other change? Are there any other changes in our organic versus our conventional systems? And then one that we are very excited about, our Pocono Research Center has started and established a hemp research program. So in this hemp trial, we look at the variety of hemp. So we're trying to answer those questions of what can and can't be grown, because hemp research was not being done as often as, our other research that we pay attention to. So we want to see if we can identify great varieties. We also want to look at allelopathy, or the ability of hemp to suppress weeds. And so again, that is a variety identification trial. We want to see how well we can keep weeds down in a hemp field, and if that can transition and be a part of intercropping in other systems. We also study the weed bank. So because hemp has not been a large research focus, we don't know what happens when these seeds fall to the ground and how long they stay viable, what the dormancy is looking at. So it's a really big funded project that we are excited about, and looking forward to getting the research out of. So we also have some farmer training programs. I am always excited about the programs, because as a nonprofit, that is kind of the pinnacle of what we do. We want to have great programming. And we'll go over each of these programs that we have, but this is just a list. So we do have a program for veterans. We have a veteran farmer training program. We think that veterans returning from service, a lot of them are interested in having this as a way for mental clarity. It gives them purpose, and it gives them a way to continue to feed themselves. And so we provide this program to them. They get an intensive 9-month program where they learn about farming from beginning to end, establishment, record keeping, sourcing, going to market. We teach them as much as we can and give them the resources. Once they are in the program, they can constantly reach back out and get any assistance that they need. We have a farm to hospital program, and that is expanding. I think in the last 3 months, we've had about 3 or 4 hospitals that are like, we need a team. We want to establish this community garden for our patients, for our workers, to be able to access organic foods. So this is here with St. Luke's University in Pennsylvania, but we are looking at that expansion and looking forward to it, especially because hospitals are able to give back. I had no idea that hospitals, a lot of them are nonprofits. So this is a great way for us to feed people, but also help them fulfill their ESG goals. We have agriculture supported communities. So it's a farm share program where we provide healthy organic food to low income food deserts. So we want all people to have access to food. You should not be limited by what's available to you. So being able to have these CSAs that are set up specifically in these low income areas to provide access to these vegetables and fruits. We also have a honeybee conservancy. So we do have 333 acres of organic research, education, and outreach. This happens in the Southeast. We had a great partnership with a farm called Manyfold Farms. They donated their land to us. Their only stipulation is that it stays certified organic and that they know what research is going on. That's all they want to know. They want people out there. They want education to happen. And so we were happy to have this land where we could really kind of springboard another research center coming directly from Pennsylvania. We also have a hog facility. So I was able to see that when we were in Pennsylvania. It's amazing. It really is like open air, and they work on these fencing systems. So of course we know pigs can do damage to whatever area they're in, but they have understood our fences. They know when one fence goes up and another goes down, they take off running. It's almost like they're anticipating getting to this other side of the fence. But being able to see just how unique, and I think when I went out there, we still had, piglets, and they're still so inquisitive. You walk up, they're still learning the electric fence. So that was a little bit of a shocker, but great research going on there. We also look at composting. So in Atlanta, right outside, we were able to partner with Serenbe community and bring them a new compost facility. So Serenbe is a wellness community that really thrives on regenerative organic. They want everyone to be connected, and they decided, you know what, as a part of our waste collection, we are now going to collect compost. And Rodale was able to get them involved, get the community involved, and bring in this composting center so they wouldn't have to worry about, well, we want compost, but now what do we do with it? And that's all managed by their farm manager. Like I've mentioned, our regional resource centers. So we have 5 of those. We have one in Atlanta, we've got Pennsylvania, Midwest, California, and we have our Northwest Organic Research Center. So again, seeing large growth there, being able to continue our research and have these hubs for resources for farmers is always great. As consultants, we try to keep business hours at least once a month so farmers can just pop in and ask any questions they have. Our Poconos Organics is one of North America's largest regenerative organic fruit and vegetable farms that creates jobs for military veterans and members of the local community. That's also where we do our hemp trials in Pennsylvania. And then last but not least, we have our Founders Farm. And so that's right next to headquarters. That is where everything started for us. And we have our apiary there. We have a CSA that's hosted. So kind of like a farmer's market that happens right there at headquarters. And you can stay out there if you have a need to visit and want to go and see and walk around. So it's an open campus. Anybody can stop by. You can go on your own tours. You can go and pick apples when they're in season. It's a great facility. So with Rodale, we do still have partners. Oftentimes people are surprised to see some of these partners like Gerber. But if you think about it, again, people are interested in what they're feeding their family. So that starts with babies as well. And this is by no means the whole list. We love Patagonia. Patagonia provides our work apparel. We also have a partnership with Terra Threads. They've recently got their regenerative organic certification in cotton. So now they have rock certified cotton threads and gifted everyone t-shirts. So we love the partnerships because, again, being a nonprofit, this is the beauty of it. We're not huge. We have about 150 employees. So being able to have this type of impact and work with these great partners is always amazing. So just reiterating our healthy soil, healthy food, and healthy people with the programming that we have. So we always ask, we want people to become a part of this legacy because the future is organic. We always seek partners through collaboration with universities, on-farm research with our farmers, community research, outreach. We do field days. And so we're always looking for philanthropic support in any way. So if you have anyone who has questions about it, I do have cards for distribution later. And then this just talks about the fact that we do, because we are a nonprofit, we always look for different donation levels. So I won't dive into this, but we run on donations, essentially. I'm able to be a consultant because of a private foundation that said, hey, you know what? We believe in this. The Southeast needs a consultant. Here's the funding. And that went from 3 years of funding to 5 years of funding. And now we're trying to hire another consultant in the Southeast because we have gotten additional research opportunities that I just can't handle on my own. So we always invite people to connect with us. If you ever find yourself in Pennsylvania, we do have a garden store and visitor center on site. Like I said, walking tours are always available. We do have workshops that are accessible via webinar online. We have a number of events that happen. So I know I'll be putting on my first field day for later in the summer at our research center in Atlanta. You can always come and volunteer. We always need volunteers. If there is any resource that you have that you think would be beneficial to farmers, we want to give you that platform to share it with them. And then, of course, we always accept donations. So in this last segment of the presentation, I will introduce what my department is. So we are about 3.5 years old. This is my team. So one of the things that we pride ourselves on is being very diverse. As you can see, our team does have more women than men. So that's always exciting because in the agriculture space, it's usually flipped. And these individuals are highly educated. Some of them own their own farms. We have subject matter experts in a little bit of everything. We do small diversified farms or small diversified vegetable production, livestock specialists. We've got someone who focuses specifically on markets. And so it's great to have this team to where if I can say, I don't have the answer, but I know somebody who does. And that's one of the things that I love about being in this role. The stars represent where everyone is located. So I always say we're always looking for consultants. One of my goals this year is to host a webinar for students to understand what skills they need to be a consultant. If they have this idea, we want to give them what they need and show them what we're looking for as a nonprofit in agriculture consulting. Some of our services, we offer farm visits, so we consider those site visits. I will hop in my truck or on a plane and come to a farm and talk. I realize that farmers, if you come out there and you show them genuine interest and you want to hear about what they have going on, they will talk. And I love it because it's always a learning experience. One farm is not the same as the next. We do offer certification assistance. So if you have a farmer who's like, I think I want to transition, I've got questions about it, the paperwork, anything like that, we do have assistance for that. Agronomic services. So while we may not go out and perform your soil test, we will help you interpret those results and tell you what we think you should do with your system. Equipment advice. If you have a question about where can I buy this equipment, I'm trying to source parts, I want to buy a used piece of equipment, we have experts on the team for that. Locating and securing financial resources. So when I was in school, I hated grants. Couldn't get me to write a grant. I mean, I would run in the opposite direction. Like, nope, I've got research. Like, who says they'd rather go and do research? But it's something about having farmers come up with those research ideas and then they say, I just need some help. If you look at the demographics of a lot of farmers, some of them have, middle school education, or they have someone on the farm who's assisting them. So being able to have someone on your team who can help you secure funding, whether it be from your local regional, state, government, whatever it is, we want to help you secure those funds. We support the farmer-led research, and there's a whole list. And we always say you show up and then you show up again. That's our model in consulting. How do you get people to buy in? You show up for them as often as you can, and you keep doing it, even after you've secured them as a client. We offer marketing services, so we want to connect farmers to the market. So again, we're breaking down these barriers. We don't want someone to say, I didn't succeed because I didn't have this. We don't charge in a lot of our states. So in New Mexico, they offer consulting services for free. In Georgia, we get free consulting services. In Pennsylvania, there's free consulting services. We are working on being able to expand that from coast to coast. And the way to do that is applying for grants. So as long as we can, as long as there's money out there, we're going to keep trying. We identify barriers. So we want to hear about your problems and we want to help you solve them. We want to help you build a coalition. So if you're interested in a CSA, we want to bring you together with other people who want to do this CSA so that you can get that premium. We develop educational resources. So we like to see the research project from start to finish. And we want to be able to get that research out. And we also help with processing and labeling compliance. So we do have a couple of individuals who are certified in, well, we're all certified in organic inspection. And then we have some who are specifically in processing and handling. So it's great to have this fully well-rounded team. And then this is just kind of what I do. So these are some of those photos. So the first time I went out and scouted a field, in this photo up here to the left of my left, that's my boss. And you believe it or not, these are soybeans, but this was the first time that I got to see the roller crimper in action, or see the fruits of that. So if you're not familiar, Rodale was one of the first people to invent this roller crimper, to where we take cover crops and we terminate them by basically crimping and stopping there. We're damaging that meristem, but we need it to form a thick mat. And that mat then becomes the weed suppression for your growing season. And then this farmer here planted directly. So as he's terminating, he's planting directly into his residue. And he wanted us to come and see his soybeans. He's like, I didn't think it would work. I was scared. I was terrified. There are things that I could have done differently, but I'm happy with it. And so we love to hear that, because those are our practices, our resources coming, full circle. He asked if he could borrow the roller crimper from Rodale. My supervisor put it on his truck, drove it out there to the farm, came back and picked it up. So again, removing those barriers so that our farmers can do what they have a passion for. I think this photo of me is in his field. So his soybeans are drying down. And I mean, coming from the conventional aspect, I don't have too many complaints. The weeds that he had out there were very few. Even standing back and just looking out to the field, I mean, they were so few and far between that the few that he had, we pulled by hand just to see what was going on. And I think the only thing he had was dog's bane. And so we were like, if that's the only thing in an organic system, and this is your first year doing it, we're proud of you. Like, you are our poster child right now. The other two photos, I actually got to be a part of a screening for Kiss the Ground. And so the founder of Kiss the Ground is in the photo. They did this outside as a community building activity. And so I got to meet so many people. And as you can see, they were ready. They were ready to watch this movie. I hadn't seen the movie yet. And I got out there, I was like, man, I think I want to be an organic farmer, So to have that type of impact, I'm like, I understand the mission, and it confirms my buy-in with the company. And so lastly, I would like to say, together we can harness the power of regenerative organic agriculture. And thank you for listening to this presentation about Rodale Institute. My contact details, and like I said, I do have some cards if you need them. And with that, I will take any questions about Rodale or myself. Yes.
One of the things I haven't been able to reconcile is the dogged determination of people not BT. Okay, on the herbicide. BT.
Yeah.
How do you think we'll ever get BT?
I hope so. So we talked about this at lunch. I said that the only way that we can keep up with demand is to be able to introduce these crops and seeds that we have to parse out the definition of GMO. So we know that there are truly some GMOs that we're taking DNA from, a fish. I did that in my undergrad research. We had a fish that we put into some trees, I'm like, yeah, maybe I don't want to disrupt that. But like you said, BT is, I really wish I'd looked at the website. We do have more farmers that are using it because it's natural. It's not anything that, and that's my gripe with the community. I meet farmers where they are. So I'm not here to transition you to organic. I'm here for you to establish more sustainable and regenerative practices. So if that looks like applying, planting BT crops so that you can spray with BT or that it's already existing there, I'm okay with that, because everything that we've already done technically is genetic modification. If we do not let crops do what they want to do, we've modified it. I was talking to Brooke and she's like, I've got to go out and I've got to bag every sorghum plant that I plant because, I don't want any outcrossing. That's now, if you go out and bag them, you have now disrupted and you have now modified this organism and kept it from doing something. So if we can parse out that definition, there will be a lot of change. And I think, honestly, part of that change, Jeff Moyer was a part of the National Organic Program. There have been very few changes. And so we hope with more progressive leaders that we'll start to see more changes and we'll have people that go to bat to be able to say, you know what, I think this is a good practice to incorporate into organic. Yes, sir.
So.
Right.
You grow something. How do you address the idea that you're growing something in an organic system that was bred and selected and developed? Completely different.
Right. Right.
So there's no, that I know of, like large scale breeding operations, developing stuff.
Right.
So then, an organic food company, but then how would you even address that? Because it looks so different.
In every region, it's different. So it was terrible having to come in to my position in the Southeast and be honest with our C-suite and tell them, I'm reading over the research plan, their strategic plan for the Southeast. And a lot of it was copy and pasted from the Midwest. It was copy and pasted from the Northeast. And I felt bad for like tearing the document apart, but I'm like, how are we going to do this? Why would we do this? This doesn't make sense. So someone had outlined a vegetable plan, and a simple search, in Georgia on harvest dates. I'm like, this doesn't add up. We can't do this in the Southeast. And so getting our C-suite to understand that there had to be a shift from transitioning farmers to educating them about what their next steps are so that we can get the buy-in. And I'm not just coming in and saying, I want you to change. I need you to change this. I want you to transition. I understand the value in transitioning, but I also understand my region. And a lot of my farmers need to see why they should go into organic. And we don't have the research to support that. So even though I'm on the consulting side, I spend a lot of time with the Southeast Organic research team because I'm with the farmers. I know what their problems are. Like, we can't introduce the roller crimper in the Southeast. It's too wet, especially in Georgia. Like, our winter time is nothing but rain, and that does nothing for a heavy piece of equipment. We can't get it in there. It's going to get stuck. So we have to have research programs, if not in every state, at least in every region, that addresses this. And there are going to have to be more nonprofit or for-profit companies that do this regionally. So like for us, I know we depend on Johnny Seeds. We send a lot of people to Johnny Seeds because they do have a nice amount of varieties that you can select from region to region, state to state, but it's still not perfect. And so having a seed company regionally that can expand and addresses the needs is really how you do it. somebody's got to, dig in and say, you know what, I'm going to be a seed company and I'm going to figure out organic seeds. And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to get certified organic and I'm just going to do it for seed. Mm-hmm. We're looking at all of it. So that's why these regional resource centers are important, because we can't do it all in Pennsylvania. And we need our farmers to tell us what that innovation looks like. They may have an idea that we haven't thought about, and we want to support that research. We help them write grants to be able to support that research. We provide grants. On the Rodale side, they're small level grants, but it's something to jumpstart what your ideas are. So as far as innovation, a lot of our innovation right now is on the market side. We found that a lot of our farmers have a hard time outside of like a farmer's market or a CSA. How do I get the products, my produce out, whether it be regionally or, just in my state? And my colleague, she's a whiz. She knows, I don't know how you know so many people in a small space, but she knows, she's like, yeah, I've got somebody who does mushroom farming. I can put you in contact with them and they'll source for you. I need a process, I'll call her and I'm like, where's the next closest processor to Georgia? Because they're backlogged here. And she's like, reach out to this person. So having people who have this knowledge and are willing to share it is number one. And then number two is constantly hiring individuals like myself. I know that prior to me being hired, they wanted to tell me I was overqualified for my position. And I'm like, I applied. I knew what I would be doing because this is what I enjoy doing. So we can't turn away good candidates simply because we feel like they have no application in this space. And that's what's propelled our consulting department forward. We started off 3.5 years ago with 2 consultants. And really it was just 1 consultant and an educator. And now we have 13 individuals. We have our own admin, we have all of these things, but it wouldn't have been possible if our supervisor didn't say, you know what? We don't need agronomists. We need subject matter experts in everything. Any question that I get, I'm looking for someone. If it keeps coming up, that's going to be the next line on my new hire. I need someone who does this. And we have to keep evolving and pulling that in. So we found nobody on our team is bilingual. So now we have a team put together to figure out what do we need in a bilingual consultant, because a lot of the areas we go to are low income. We do have a large Hispanic community I know in Georgia, at least where I live, I get the questions a lot there. People who are like the truck, they see my truck. I'm like, I didn't know, I live in a city. I didn't know that you all knew Rodale. So ask me any questions, but I struggle because my Spanish is very limited, I can understand a little bit, but Google Translate is my friend. I would love to be able to have a colleague that I can say, you know what? Here's your person. This is who is going to be able to help you. And then they can communicate with me and tell me this is what they need. So evolution is important in that aspect. Yes. Thank you. No. So this one is where our consultants are located. As far as I took that slide out, and so that's my apologies, but our resource centers are located. We have the Midwest Organic Center that's in Iowa. We have the Poconos Farm that's in Pennsylvania. We have our headquarters in Pennsylvania. Right outside of Atlanta is the Southeast Organic Research Center. And then we now have the Northwest. So that star is not up, that location's not up there because we still have to build out there, but it was great to be able to say we've got land, we've got someone who supports the vision and they want us to use it. And so now we develop it. And now we have to develop a whole research team focused on this research in the Pacific Northwest. And so that's exciting, just to see what we can get simply by opening this resource center. You're welcome. And the goal is to have these everywhere. Like right now it's 5. I think in the next 5 years, we'll be at 10. We need one in Texas. So we have a consultant that's in New Mexico. So we kind of split Texas right now, just because of how spread out everyone is and the needs. So even though I'm in the Southeast and I cover a large amount of area, doesn't mean that I have a lot of farmers that want to be organic. So we try to encompass as much as we can. But I can see us in the next 10 years having a consultant in every state because they're buying into it. It started out Pennsylvania. Department of Ag said any farmer who wants help in Pennsylvania, they get it for free. We're going to find the money, and they feed into that program year after year. I got the Southeast Transition to Organic Program grant, so I can offer free services in the state of Georgia. And so that's exciting because we know that one of the most limiting factors in farming is finances. It's money, and next is water. So if we can break down that and at least make it so you don't have to worry about it, I will come to your farm and do a site visit. All you have to do is set it up. I will sit down and answer your questions. I forget that I have to log my hours when I talk to clients because I'm just so happy to be able to help and be a resource. So I'm always getting fussed at, like, did you talk to anyone today? Yes, I did hear this, but you didn't log it. I got you, So it's exciting to know that people want this information and that we have it. We just have to have more visibility.
Actually have a
Mm-hmm.
my interaction with them when I first came to their department, they were pretty busy with extension. I don't know whether that's changed very much or not.
I mean, yeah, that's what a lot of the feedback we get. I don't want to go to extension because everything in extension was developed for conventional programming. Unless you go to NRCS, which they have a better grasp on soil health, they're really focusing on the soil aspect. But just to be able, like a conventional farmer can walk into extension and say, hey, I have this problem. Hey, I need to do a soil test.
Not totally unfounded. I was,
Mm-hmm.
didn't get our fair share.
Right. So that's what I tell people, that being a part of this nonprofit is like being the extension arm for organic production. That's what my job is. I travel around and learn as much as I can about what the needs are of organic farmers. Is there any new technology? What are people doing to overcome this? So that I can take it back and say, no, we're doing a nematode study. We don't have a big nematode problem in Georgia, but I also know that we got the funding for a nematode project, but the next round of funding, I'm going to say, maybe we don't need to do this. Maybe we should focus on developing some kind of roller crimper for the Southeast, and so it's to have that input. Oh, I know. No, I share with people, I went to Harvard for one of these symposiums where they bring together education. They want public and private education. They want consumers. They want farmers. And so I went as the voice of the farmer, from the organic standpoint. And there was a company that stood up and they said, we figured out how to grow rice with less water. We use drip irrigation. And I don't understand why we can't get people in the Delta to adopt this. Did you do a study? Did you assess what the problem is and why we grow crops the way that we do in the Southeast? California's kind of new to this. California's newest to rice production compared to the Southeast. We grow rice with a lot of water because it suppresses a lot of the weeds. Not until recently Did it not start to persist? We have red rice that persists in any environment that rice is going to live in. But outside of that, it was a cultural practice that did what we needed to do in the Delta region, especially considering how much it rains in that area. We're going to flood. So why not just craft my levees to collect this water? And so he's like, but my company can help them. We just need them to adopt it. And I'm willing to bring the farmers. I said, they're not going to listen to anyone from California. I hate to say it, but what you would need to get the buy-in from someone like me. And you haven't shown me that you've done the research to support me going to my farmers and saying, you know what? I think we should do in-furrow rice. And they're going to ask me why. They're going to ask me who does it. And I don't have the answer. Yeah, someone from California. I'm like, psh. That I have nothing else to say. So we need the research regionally. We need the support regionally. And I'm happy to see that it's slowly happening. When I think my second week here, I was sitting listening to the congressional hearings. I had no idea that, to he's the chair of this ag committee, our research station sits in his district. So now I am feverishly emailing. I'm like, who knows him? Because I need him. He doesn't even realize what's in his district because no one thought to reach out to him. He supports it. He's the one that called this, but you need to show him so that he can say, this is happening right here. I can go out, drive 20 minutes, see it. But nobody had thought about this. So it all comes back to buy-in. Getting people to understand the value. During lunch, someone said, well, how do you do that? If I can get a farmer to commit to half an acre just to try it, I'm going to find the resources so that he doesn't have to take this out of his pocket. If there's any way that I can supplement him doing this research so that he sees it himself, that is the best tool that I have in my tool belt, because I can preach what I found all day, but you want to see it. You want to see for yourself, and I'm going to help you see it. It's a need.